Welcome to the Leading with AI podcast. Today, we're plunging into a deep dive that's, well, absolutely essential for navigating the age of AI, completely rethinking people's strategy. We're talking about how artificial intelligence fundamentally changes, well, everything, how we define talent, how we develop skills, what leadership looks like, even the very fabric of our organizational culture.
It's a huge transformation, really.
Right.
And we're exploring it through the lens of Intelligent Advantage, the book you shared with us for this deep dive. It makes a really compelling case that AI isn't just, automating tasks. It's redefining the whole relationship between people and work across the entire employee journey.
And the book hits you right away with this statement that really sticks. The war for talent is over. Talent augmented by AI wins. That's quite a claim. It feels a bit counterintuitive, doesn't it, when everyone's still talking about finding great people. What does the book suggest that actually means for organizations and, for us as individuals in the workforce?
Yeah, it does shift the focus quite dramatically.
Yeah.
So instead of just trying to outcompete everyone else to hire the best human talent in isolation, which, let's face it, is getting harder and harder, the book argues the real competitive edge comes from how effectively you enable humans and AI to work together.
So it's about amplifying what people can do.
Exactly. Amplifying human capabilities with AI. So the most valuable talent isn't just someone who's intrinsically skilled. It's someone who's skilled and effectively augmented by these intelligent tools. That partnership, that synergy, that's where the winning happens, according to the book.
Okay, interesting. Let's unpack that idea then and see how the book explores it across the organization. We're going to guide you through some key areas that the book really illuminates. We'll kick off with how AI is truly transforming the role of HR itself, then look at how the very definition of talent is evolving, which sounds fascinating. We'll explore AI's impact on learning and development, delve into what it takes to cultivate a culture where AI can actually thrive, and finally understand why AI fluency isn't just nice to have anymore, but absolutely critical, especially for leadership.
Sounds good. We'll pull insight straight from the core arguments of the book, Intelligent Advantage, laying out how these concepts connect and build on each other. To create this sort of cohesive vision for an AI-ready organization, it's definitely a lot to cover, but it feels absolutely crucial for anyone navigating leadership or even just their own career growth in this new landscape.
Absolutely. So starting right at the beginning, the book makes a really strong case that AI is a fundamental catalyst, not just, an incremental improvement, but a real transformation for human capital strategy, HR at its core.
That's right. The book argues pretty convincingly that AI is redefining, well, every single facet of the employee lifecycle, from attracting and hiring to developing, managing, even supporting employee well-being. It fundamentally shifts the role of human resources from what was often seen as, perhaps, primarily administrative or a support function to becoming a truly strategic partner, right there at the executive table.
And where does that transformation usually start? I mean, the most immediate impact people often think of is automation, right? Getting rid of those routine tasks that have historically bogged down HR teams.
Exactly. That's often the entry point. The book highlights that the first and often most visible impact of AI is automating those routine, time-consuming administrative tasks. The things that, while necessary, just consume an enormous amount of HR professionals' valuable time and energy.
Can you give us some specific examples? What does the book point to here? What kind of tasks are we talking about that are ripe for AI automation in HR?
Sure. Well, think about initial resume screening. Traditionally, that was a manual, incredibly time-intensive process. The book describes how AI can rapidly sift through thousands, maybe tens of thousands of applications, identifying candidates whose profiles best match predefined criteria. This frees up recruiters to focus their time on, evaluation, engagement, the human element, rather than just that initial filtering.
Makes sense. What else?
Another really common example is handling basic employee questions. Chatbots, right? Powered by AI and natural language processing. They can answer queries about benefits, company policies, leave requests, HR processes instantly. 247.
Wow.
That takes a significant load off HR staff and, importantly, gives employees faster service.
And bringing new people into the company. Onboarding. That often involves a ton of process and paperwork.
Absolutely. Book notes how intelligent workflows can automate various steps in the onboarding process. Things like sending out the initial paperwork, setting up system access automatically, scheduling introductory meetings. It just makes the whole process smoother, faster, and frankly, less prone to human error. Another area the book points out is automated compliance checks on HR documentation, ensuring forms are filled out correctly, certifications are valid, things like that. AI brings speed and consistency there.
So by automating these tasks, It's not just about efficiency for efficiency's sake. It sounds like it's about reclaiming time, strategic time.
That's precisely the strategic benefit the book emphasizes.
Exactly.
By automating the, let's call the drudgery, HR professionals gain back time and, crucially, their intellectual capital, their brain power. This allows them to pivot from being, administrators of processes to being strategic advisors and architects of the workforce.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice then? What are these strategic roles that AI empowers HR to take on, according to the book?
Well, the book outlines several key areas where HR can really step up as a valued business partner. One primary area is strategic workforce planning. This is moving HR beyond simply reacting to current vacancies as they pop up.
So not just posting a job description when someone leaves, but really thinking ahead, 5, 10 years out.
Exactly. Much more forward-looking. AI enables HR to collaborate much more effectively with business leaders to proactively identify future talent needs. And this isn't just about headcount. It's about predicting the types of skills and roles the organization will need down the line, based on long-term strategic goals, anticipated market shifts, tech advancements, competitive pressures. The book explains how AI can help project these needs with far greater accuracy and foresight by analyzing internal data alongside external market intelligence.
That sounds absolutely essential in a world changing so fast. How does AI impact managing the talent you already have inside the organization?
Right, so AI is also transformative in talent management and leadership development. The book discusses how AI supports the design of sophisticated data-driven programs. Programs to identify high-potential employees earlier and perhaps more objectively, and then nurture them into future leaders. This involves things like personalized development plans based on their specific potential and the organization's future needs.
And does it influence how companies are structured, the actual org chart?
Yes, the book touches on organizational design and development too. AI can provide insights to help HR advise on optimal organizational structures. It can help understand and maybe improve team dynamics and guide those crucial change management initiatives that are necessary for the kind of agility and innovation needed in this AI-driven world.
Okay, culture. Culture feels so inherently human. How does AI, a technology, contribute to cultivating culture? That seems like a bit of a leap.
It does seem like a leap, doesn't it? But the book makes a really interesting point here. It argues that AI can actually help actively shape and nurture the desired organizational culture. And it can help design employee experiences that are genuinely enhanced by technology. This can foster engagement, improve well-being, create a stronger sense of belonging, which, feels a bit counterintuitive.
It really does. It seems like a cold, data-driven tool would make things less human, not more. But the book argues the opposite.
It does. It explores this seemingly counterintuitive idea that AI can enable more people-centric cultures. The key, as the book describes it, is AI's ability to move beyond those generic, one-size-fits-all HR practices. It allows for granular, individualized understanding and support for employees, but at scale.
Okay. Personalization again, like tailoring services for customers, but doing it for employees.
Precisely. The book draws that exact parallel. Just like AI powers personalized recommendations for you on Netflix or Amazon, it can help tailor various aspects of the employee journey. Think about a truly personalized onboarding experience that adapts to your specific role and background. Or a learning program that recommends courses based specifically on your career goals and skill gaps. Or even wellness programs offering suggestions tailored to your preferences and needs. This level of individual attention, facilitated by AI, can make employees feel significantly more seen, understood, and valued.
What about fairness? That's a huge concern with AI, especially in HR, the potential for bias. How does the book address that?
Yeah, that's a critical point, and the book addresses it head on. It argues that and this is a big win, when designed and governed responsibly, with a very conscious focus on mitigating bias, AI can actually help create fairer and more equitable talent decisions. By focusing on objective data related to skills, demonstrated performance, verified potential AI can help reduce the impact of unconscious human biases that might creep into hiring, promotion, or compensation decisions.
So the potential is there to build a culture based more on merit and objective criteria, rather than gut feel or unconscious preference.
That's the potential, yes.
Yeah.
The book suggests that using AI in this thoughtful way contributes to a culture where employees perceive that opportunities are based on objective factors and contributions. This, in turn, can lead to increased trust and a greater sense of fairness.
And can AI also directly empower employees, give them more control over their own careers?
Absolutely. The book highlights how AI-powered tools can put agency directly into employees' hands. A great example the book discusses is internal talent marketplaces. These AI-driven platforms can analyze an employee's skills, experience, their stated development goals, and then match them with relevant internal projects, temporary assignments, or even full-time roles that they might not have discovered otherwise.
That sounds much more proactive than just, waiting for an opportunity to be posted somewhere.
It is. It really allows employees to actively shape their own growth trajectory within the company. The book also mentions AI-driven learning platforms that curate and recommend highly personalized learning pathways, and even AI career coaches that can offer guidance and suggestions for skill development based on both internal trends and external labor market data.
And how about communication and feedback within teams across the organization?
AI can certainly facilitate better communication and more timely feedback loops. The book discusses how AI can analyze anonymized employee feedback from surveys or internal communication platforms, for example, but with strong ethical considerations and privacy safeguards in place, obviously. It can identify overarching themes, sentiment, areas of concern across different teams or the whole company. This gives leadership rapid, data-driven insights into the organizational pulse, enabling more targeted and effective responses. Plus, AI tools can also assist managers in providing more timely, specific, and maybe even constructive feedback by analyzing performance data patterns.
Employee well-being is such a huge focus for companies today. Does the book touch on how AI can support that aspect?
It does, and it's another really fascinating application. The book points out AI's potential to help support employee well-being and prevent burnout. By analyzing anonymized and aggregated data, things like workload patterns, working hours relative to norms, maybe engagement levels and digital tools, AI can potentially identify early warning signs, signs of burnout or disengagement within teams or specific roles. Now, this isn't about surveillance of individuals. It's about identifying trends at a macro level to enable proactive interventions. Offering support resources, suggesting workload adjustments before a crisis hits, the book positions this proactive support for well-being as a cornerstone of a genuinely people-centric culture enabled by AI.
Okay, so AI moves way beyond just automating HR tasks. It enables deeper personalization, helps drive fairer processes if done right, empowers employees directly, improves communication, and even supports well-being. It really does seem to enable a more people-centric approach, just as the book suggests, kind of flips the initial intuition.
That's the core argument in this section of the book, yes. It provides the tools and the insights to focus on the individual employee's journey and experience at scale, something that was just much, much harder to achieve consistently with traditional HR systems.
That naturally leads us into the next logical area, smart career pathing and leadership development, because that's all about guiding individual growth and preparing people for future roles. How does AI play a strategic role here, according to the book?
The book dedicates significant attention to this, yes. AI provides powerful new capabilities for guiding those longer-term career trajectories and nurturing the next generation of leaders within the organization. It essentially moves the process from being often reactive and, let's be honest, sometimes quite manual, to a much more proactive, data-informed approach.
How does AI help with individual career pathing specifically? What does that look like for an employee?
The book outlines a multifaceted approach. First, AI can analyze successful internal career trajectories. It looks at how people have actually moved through the organization successfully in the past. What skills did they acquire? What roles did they hold? What experiences did they gain? This helps the AI understand the different pathways available and what's typically needed to progress. Second, it analyzes an individual employee's current skills, their performance data, their stated aspirations, their development progress so far. By combining these internal data points with external market data on job trends and required skills, the AI can then do something quite remarkable.
Like suggest paths the employee might not have even considered, things they didn't know were possible for them.
Exactly that. The AI can suggest potential career paths within the organization that align well with the employee's strengths and goals, highlighting roles or transitions they might not have visibility into otherwise. And perhaps even more importantly, it can then identify the specific skills, experiences, or qualifications needed to realistically aim for those target roles. The book describes how it can then recommend tailored learning opportunities, specific courses, maybe certifications, or specific projects to gain relevant experience, or even connections with mentors who have navigated similar paths successfully. It's almost like having a hyper-informed, personalized career advisor constantly scanning the internal landscape just for you.
That sounds incredibly powerful for employee engagement and retention, definitely. What about identifying future leaders? That often feels like such a mix of objective performance and, well, subjective judgment.
Yeah, and AI can bring much more objectivity and potentially foresight to that process. The book explains how AI can analyze a really wide range of data points to help identify employees with high leadership potential.
What kind of data are we talking about? What does it look at?
The book points to various sources, things like consistent high-performance trends over time, aggregated feedback, like anonymized 360-degree reviews perhaps, demonstrated learning agility, how quickly do they pick up new skills and adapt. Network influence is another interesting one. The book mentions it even refers to organizational network analysis, or O&A, which maps out how people connect, collaborate, share information, offering insights into influence and centrality within the organization's informal networks. And of course, success in challenging assignments or projects. By analyzing these diverse data points, AI can help identify potential leaders earlier and potentially more objectively than traditional methods, which can sometimes be biased.
And that early identification means you can invest in their development sooner and more effectively. Makes sense.
Precisely. And AI then allows for personalized leadership development programs. The book discusses how AI can tailor the content and structure of these programs. It can recommend specific learning modules based on a leader's identified growth needs. Maybe it's strategic thinking, maybe managing complex change, improving communication, financial acumen, whatever it might be. It can also suggest AI-powered coaching simulations. These allow leaders to practice difficult conversations or leadership challenges in a safe, simulated environment. Furthermore, it can help match developing leaders with appropriate mentors or peer learning groups based on specific development goals.
Does AI play a role in something as critical as succession planning, filling those key roles when they open up?
Absolutely. The book highlights AI's significant value in succession planning. By leveraging the same kind of analysis used for identifying high-potential individuals, AI can help pinpoint internal talent that has the potential and is nearing readiness to step into critical leadership roles throughout the organization. This provides really valuable data-driven input for building a robust succession pipeline, reducing over-reliance on potentially costly and risky external hires for key positions.
And finding the right mentor or sponsor that can be such a game changer for someone's growth. Can AI help with that matchmaking process?
Yes, the book details how AI can facilitate more effective mentorship programs. It can analyze various factors, skills, experience levels, career goals, perhaps even personality traits, if assessed ethically and appropriately, shared interests or backgrounds, and use that data to make more intelligent matches between mentors and mentees. Better matches are just much more likely to lead to impactful, productive, and mutually beneficial relationships. The book frequently cites insights from organizations like McKinsey regarding the broader impact of AI on talent.
Yeah, what's the key takeaway from their perspective on workforce development as presented in the book?
Well, McKinsey, as referenced in the book, really underscores that transforming workforce development is a key lever for organizations using AI successfully. They emphasize that applying AI to create scalable, highly personalized learning and development ecosystems, much like the ones we've just been discussing, significantly enhances individual potential, and, in turn, builds the overall capability, the agility, and the resilience of the entire organization. This is particularly critical in fast-changing industries where the ability to quickly reskill and upskill your workforce isn't just beneficial, it's becoming a vital competitive advantage, almost a necessity for organizational survival.
Yeah, it's becoming incredibly clear through this discussion that the very definition of talent is fundamentally shifting. It's no longer just about what a person brings as an individual, right? It's about how they can leverage technology effectively.
Absolutely. And this takes us right back to that core hook from the book we started with. The war for talent is over. Talent augmented by AI wins. It's really a declaration that the competitive landscape for talent itself has changed.
So the book isn't suggesting a future where machines replace humans entirely. It's more about partnership, collaboration.
That's the core vision presented in the book, yes. It portrays AI primarily as an augmenter, a tool designed to enhance and extend human capabilities, not as a wholesale replacement for them. And this perspective necessitates a significant shift in how organizations think about talent development, about job design, even organizational structure. We are, and increasingly will be, designing roles where humans work with AI, often in very close collaboration.
Okay, so if AI is handling more of the routine, predictable tasks, what skills become more valuable, more in demand for the humans in this partnership?
The book is quite specific about this. As AI automates those routine tasks, the demand for uniquely human skills actually increases significantly. These are the capabilities that AI currently struggles with, and likely will for some time. Things like deep critical thinking, complex problem solving, genuine creativity and innovation, effective collaboration and teamwork, nuanced communication, emotional intelligence, empathy, ethical judgment. These skills become the bedrock of human value in an AI-augmented environment.
So organizations really need to double down on developing those very human capabilities in their workforce. It's not just about tech skills.
Precisely. This underscores the imperative for significant investment in both upskilling and reskilling the workforce. Employees need to be equipped not just to use AI tools effectively, but to thrive in environments where working with AI is the norm. This means developing digital literacy alongside those core human skills. It's a dual track.
Does this collaborative future also mean entirely new job roles emerge, roles that didn't exist before?
Yes, the book points directly to the emergence of new roles, specifically situated at that human-machine interface. These are roles necessary to build, manage, guide, and interpret these augmented systems. Examples the book gives include things like AI system trainers, who are involved in fine-tuning AI models, AI ethicists, who are crucial for ensuring responsible and fair AI use, human-robot interaction designers, focusing on creating seamless and safe collaboration between people and intelligent machines, maybe in manufacturing or logistics, and data storytellers, people who can translate complex AI-generated insights into understandable, actionable narratives for business users. These are roles that really require a blend, a blend of technical understanding and those distinctly human skills like communication, empathy, critical interpretation, ethical reasoning.
That makes perfect sense. You absolutely need people who can bridge that gap between the technology and the human or business outcome. And it's not just the specialists who need to understand AI, right? The book talks about AI fluency being important across the entire organization.
Yes, the importance of a broader level of AI understanding is emphasized throughout the book. While clearly not everyone needs to become a data scientist, business leaders, domain experts in different departments like marketing, finance, operations, and even frontline employees need a sufficient level of AI fluency. This enables them to collaborate effectively with technical teams, to identify potential AI use cases in their own areas of work, and just to work confidently and effectively alongside AI-powered tools.
Okay, speaking of AI fluency, the book really hammers this home as a critical imperative, especially for C-suite readiness. It talks about this being key to closing the execution gap in AI initiatives. What does that mean?
That's a really vital point the book makes, yes. It argues that the bottleneck for successful enterprise-wide AI integration isn't always the technology itself, or even the availability of data scientists. Often, the biggest challenge is this execution gap that arises when leadership lacks sufficient AI fluency. Without it, there's a disconnect between recognizing the potential of AI and actually being able to strategically direct its implementation to deliver tangible business value.
So, why is this level of AI literacy, even for non-technical executive, so crucial? What does it enable them to do?
Well, the book explains that it empowers leaders to make much more informed decisions about AI investments, to provide effective oversight of AI projects, ensuring they stay on track and deliver value, and importantly, to foster a culture throughout the organization where AI can truly thrive and deliver impact. It's really about moving the C-suite from being perhaps passive approvers of AI budgets to becoming active, intelligent architects of the organization's AI strategy and its future.
What are the core competences of AI fluency for leaders, according to the book? What specifically do they need to understand or be able to do? Not coding, presumably.
No, definitely not coding.
Yeah.
The book breaks it down into key areas, stressing that it's about strategic understanding and critical engagement. One core competency is the strategic framing of AI initiatives.
Strategic framing, what does that involve for a leader?
It's the ability to connect AI possibilities directly and explicitly to the organization's overarching strategic objectives. Leaders need to be able to articulate how a proposed AI initiative will create specific, measurable business value, whether that's driving revenue growth, reducing operational costs, mitigating specific risks, improving customer experience, or even enabling entirely new business models. It's about understanding that clear line of sight between the technology and the ultimate business outcome. And based on that strategic link, they also need to be able to prioritize initiatives effectively. With numerous potential AI use cases popping up across the enterprise, a fluent leader can assess which opportunities offer the greatest strategic leverage. Considering not just technical feasibility, but potential ROI, competitive differentiation, resource requirements, associated risks, the book really stresses avoiding chasing AI trends just because they're novel or hyped. The focus has to be on initiatives that genuinely move the strategic needle and align with the organization's core goals.
Understanding what competitors are doing with AI must be part of that strategic framing too, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. It involves analyzing how competitors are leveraging AI, identifying potential AI-driven disruptions within their industry, and understanding how AI can be used to build or sustain a defensible competitive advantage. And finally, a key part of strategic framing is defining clear, measurable business metrics for AI projects. Moving beyond purely technical performance indicators, like model accuracy, to focus on tangible business outcomes, like customer satisfaction scores, conversion rates, or process cycle time reductions, things the business actually measures itself by.
That strategic understanding seems foundational, but the book highlights another competency as perhaps the most critical for busy, non-technical executive, something different.
Yes, and that is the ability to ask the right questions.
Ask the right questions. Why is questioning so paramount in this context?
Because AI systems can be complex, sometimes opaque, and they carry inherent risks, like bias or unintended consequences. The ability to ask insightful, probing questions, even without understanding the underlying code in detail, is the key. It's the key to uncovering hidden assumptions, identifying potential pitfalls, ensuring strategic alignment is really there, and fostering a culture of critical evaluation around AI initiatives. The book actually provides excellent examples of the kinds of questions leaders should be asking their technical teams or AI vendors.
Okay, let's get into some of those examples. What kind of questions should leaders ask about the purpose and potential value of an AI project? The why.
Right, the why. The book suggests questions like, what specific business problem are we actually trying to solve with this AI? How will we measure its success in concrete business terms? Or, what is the expected return on investment, and what are the key assumptions underlying that projection? What would need to happen for us not to achieve that? That's a good one. Critically, how does this initiative directly support our overall corporate strategy? And maybe even, have we thoroughly explored simpler, non-AI solutions that might achieve a similar or sufficient outcome at lower cost or complexity? Sometimes the simplest answer is best.
Those force real clarity on the why and the what if. What about questions related to the data? That's the fuel for AI, right?
Absolutely crucial. The book lists essential data questions. What specific data is needed for this AI to work effectively? Do we actually have access to sufficient quantities of high-quality, relevant data? A vital question, tying back to fairness and risk. What are the potential biases inherent in this data, and what specific steps are being taken to identify, mitigate, or manage those biases? You have to ask that. Also, how will the data be governed, secured, and its privacy protected throughout its entire lifecycle? And what is our strategy for continuously refreshing and updating the data the AI uses? Data gets stale. Those are definitely non-negotiable questions, especially with today's data privacy regulations. What should leaders ask about the AI model itself and its limitations? The black box problem. Yeah, tackling the black box. The book advises leaders to ask for conceptual explanation. Okay, at a high level, how does this AI model work? What type of AI is it? More importantly, they should probe its boundaries. What are the known limitations of this model? When is it likely to perform poorly or fail? Under what conditions might its outputs be unreliable or even nonsensical? Unquote. Also, how will we continuously monitor its performance over time once it's deployed in a production environment? And, where possible and necessary for trust and oversight, is the model explainable? Can we understand why it made a particular prediction or recommendation, especially for high-stakes decisions? Leaders also need to delve into the practical side, implementation and operational aspects. Questions like, what are the technical infrastructure and organizational prerequisites for deploying this AI? What is the detailed plan for integrating this AI tool into our existing systems and workflows? Crucially, how will this impact our employees, and what change management is required? What training? What are the ongoing operational costs associated with maintaining and updating this AI? And what are our contingency plans if the system malfunctions or its outputs are incorrect? You need a plan B.
And finally, questions around ethics and risk. Seems paramount.
Absolutely paramount, especially in people-related applications. The book suggests questions like, what are the potential ethical risks associated with deploying this AI, particularly in sensitive areas like hiring, performance reviews, or employee evaluation? Quote, how are we ensuring continuous compliance with relevant regulations and legal frameworks, which are constantly evolving? What mechanisms are in place for human oversight and intervention, particularly when the AI is making or informing high-impact decisions? And What is our process for addressing concerns, feedback, or complaints that arise from the AI's operation or decisions? The book really emphasizes that the ability to ask these kinds of searching questions, even without needing to write code yourself, is a defining characteristic of an AI-fluent leader. It instills a necessary layer of accountability, diligence, and critical evaluation.
Okay, so beyond asking the right questions, leaders also need a foundational understanding of the different types of AI and their characteristics, right? Not the deep mechanics, but the basic concepts.
Yes, the book covers this, understanding basic machine learning types, model trade-offs, and inherent limitations. Executives don't need to be technical experts, absolutely not. But a conceptual grasp is essential for strategic discussions, for informed decision-making, and just for setting realistic expectations about what AI can and cannot do.
What basic types of AI or machine learning does the book suggest leaders should be familiar with conceptually?
The book mentions key categories like supervised learning. That's where the AI learns from labeled examples to make predictions like predicting which employees might be at high risk of leaving based on historical data. Unsupervised learning, which finds patterns or groups in data without specific labels beforehand, like segmenting customer or employee populations based on shared characteristics you didn't predefine. And reinforcement learning, where an AI learns through trial and error by receiving rewards or penalties based on its actions towards achieving a specific goal, maybe like optimizing a complex logistics process.
And specialized areas like understanding text or images, those seem increasingly common.
Exactly. Natural language processing, or NLP, for understanding and processing human language. That powers chatbots, sentiment analysis of employee feedback, summarizing documents, things like that. And computer vision, for enabling machines to see and interpret images or video. Potentially for safety monitoring in manufacturing, although maybe less directly applicable to core HR functions usually. The book also mentions the rising prominence of generative AI, of course, the type that can create new content, text, images, code, audio, which is finding applications in areas like drafting initial communications, generating outlines for training materials, maybe even coding assistance.
Are there inherent trade-offs with these models that leaders should be aware of when decisions are being made? It's not all magic.
No, definitely not magic. The book highlights several common trade-offs. A frequent one is between accuracy and interpretability. Highly complex models, like deep neural networks, might achieve slightly higher accuracy on a specific task, but they often function like black boxes, where it's difficult or impossible to understand why they arrived at a particular conclusion. Simpler models, like decision trees, are often more explainable but might sacrifice a tiny bit of predictive accuracy.
That explainability seems particularly important in sensitive areas like HR, where you might need to justify a decision based on the AI's input.
Absolutely critical in many cases. The book also discusses the trade-off between precision and recall in classification tasks. Do you prioritize minimizing false positives, for example, wrongly identifying a candidate as high potential when they aren't? Or do you prioritize minimizing false negatives, missing someone who is truly high potential? The optimal balance depends entirely on the business context and the cost of each type of error. Another technical trade-off mentioned is between bias, the model being too simple, underfitting the data, and variance, the model being too complex, overfitting the data, which affects how well it generalizes to new, unseen situations. And of course, there's always a practical trade-off between speed of computation, the cost of deployment and operation, and the desired level of accuracy. You can't always maximize everything.
And what about AI's fundamental limitations? What should leaders be realistic about, according to the book? Where does the hype meet reality?
The book is quite clear-eyed here, which is helpful. Current AI lacks true general intelligence, lacks common sense, lacks genuine understanding of the world in the way humans do. It excels at pattern recognition within its training data and executing specific tasks based on those patterns, but it doesn't think or reason like a human. It can't easily handle situations drastically different from what it was trained on. It exhibits no consciousness, no real self-awareness, and it doesn't possess human-like creativity or empathy in the true sense. It's an incredibly powerful tool, but it has boundaries. Leaders need to understand these limitations to avoid overestimating AI's capabilities or misapplying it in inappropriate situations.
Okay, so strategic framing, asking the right questions, and a basic conceptual understanding of AI types, trade-offs, and limitations, those seem like the pillars of building AI fluency for leaders. But there's often this significant language barrier, right? And an understanding gap between the business side and the technical teams actually building the AI. How does the book suggest bridging that gap?
Yeah, that's a major practical challenge, and the book addresses it directly. Business executives often speak in terms of strategic goals, market share, revenue targets, operational efficiency, customer needs. Technical AI teams speak in terms of algorithms, data pipelines, model architectures, hyperparameters, performance metrics like F1 scores or AUC curves. This language barrier and, frankly, differing perspectives and priorities can easily lead to misaligned projects, frustration on both sides, and ultimately AI solutions that don't quite deliver the intended business value.
Is there a specific role the book identifies as critical to bridging this divide, a kind of liaison?
Yes, the book highlights the vital need for what are often called AI translators or sometimes analytics translators. These individuals are not necessarily the deep technical researchers or hardcore coders, but professionals with a crucial hybrid skill set.
Okay, what does that hybrid skill set look like? What makes a good translator?
They need to be sufficiently fluent in the language and concepts of AI, data science, and machine learning to understand the technology's capabilities, its requirements, its limitations, at least at a conceptual level. They need to be able to engage meaningfully with the technical team. And this is just as important, maybe more so, they must be equally, if not more, adept at understanding the business strategy, the operational processes, the market dynamics, the specific challenges the business is facing. They need to deeply understand the context. Their role, essentially, is to facilitate communication in both directions. They translate business needs and problems into clear, actionable requirements for the AI teams. And then they translate complex AI outputs and technical concepts back into understandable, actionable business insights and recommendations for the leaders.
So they're bilingual, in a sense, speaking both business and AI.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. They ensure that the AI initiatives are not only technically sound, but also strategically relevant, well-defined from a business perspective, and effectively integrated into operations to deliver real, measurable value. The book positions this translator role as increasingly critical for successful AI adoption at scale.
So beyond identifying these competencies and roles, how does the C-suite actually build this fluency? It's not like busy executives can all go back to school for a computer science degree. The book must suggest some practical steps.
It does, thankfully. Achieving this necessary level of AI readiness at the executive level requires intentional, structured effort. It doesn't just happen. The book suggests several practical steps. One is investing in structured C-suite and board-level AI education programs.
Okay, not heavy technical training, but something tailored specifically for strategic understanding.
Precisely. Programs specifically designed for non-technical executives and board members. These programs cover core AI concepts, but at a strategic level. They discuss relevant business use cases and their implications, explore data fundamentals, address ethical AI considerations, provide an overview of the AI talent landscape. The book mentions formats like executive AI academies, tailored workshops, or maybe board AI boot camps. This aligns with what we're seeing elsewhere, a growing expectation for boards to provide informed oversight of AI strategy and its associated risks.
Learning together as a leadership team seems like it would be beneficial too. Shared understanding.
It is. The book suggests establishing executive peer learning circles or perhaps dedicated AI councils within the C-suite. This provides a regular forum for leaders to collectively deepen their understanding, discuss their learning, share challenges and successes from their respective areas, and align on the organization's overall AI strategy and priorities. An internal AI council can also serve as a key steering committee for major initiatives.
I've heard of reverse mentoring, where more junior, digitally native employees teach senior leaders about technology. Does the book touch on that?
Yes, it recommends engaging in exactly that reverse mentoring and also fostering more cross-functional exposure. Senior executives can gain invaluable insights and demystify the technology significantly by being mentored by younger, digitally native employees, or even by spending some structured time embedding with data science or AI engineering teams just to understand their work, their challenges, their processes firsthand.
What about creating a common language, getting everyone on the same page with terminology?
That's listed as another practical step, developing a concise, must-know AI lexicon specifically for leaders. A brief, tailored glossary of essential AI terms explained in clear, non-technical language. This just ensures that everyone is speaking the same foundational language during strategic discussions about AI. It reduces confusion and improves the quality of the conversation significantly.
Should AI thinking be embedded into the core strategic planning process itself?
The book proposes exactly that, suggesting organizations consider mandating AI impact assessments for major strategic initiatives. This would require the teams developing strategy proposals to explicitly consider: how could AI enhance this initiative? What data or AI capabilities would be needed? What potential AI risks are involved? What necessary AI talent or governance needs to be in place? It encourages proactive consideration of AI right from the outset, rather than treating it as an add-on or an afterthought.
And how do you signal that building AI fluency is a real priority for the organization? How do you make it stick?
The book suggests integrating AI fluency expectations into leadership development programs, and, where appropriate and feasible, perhaps even into executive performance metrics or development goals. This clearly signals that demonstrating a commitment to understanding and thinking strategically about AI is a valued leadership attribute and a key part of professional growth in the age of AI. It sends a message from the top.
Visiting other companies who are maybe further along with AI seems like a practical way to learn by example, too.
Yes, the book mentions the value of visiting AI-mature organizations and engaging with AI ecosystems more broadly. C-suite study tours or briefings with companies recognized as leaders in AI adoption can provide invaluable inspiration, practical insights into what successful implementation actually looks like, and important lessons learned, both successes and failures.
Okay, these steps paint a really clear picture of how leaders can intentionally build the necessary AI fluency. We've covered a lot here: how AI is fundamentally changing the HR landscape, empowering individuals through augmentation, and demanding this new level of AI fluency from leadership. These are just some of the transformative insights found in the book we're discussing today, Intelligent Advantage by Ryan Beckett.
That's right. And if you're finding this deep dive valuable, if these ideas are resonating, and you want to explore the full scope of AI's impact across business strategy, operations, innovation, and much more, including the depth we've gone into today on people strategy, we highly recommend getting your copy of the book.
Absolutely. You can find the book, Intelligent Advantage by Ryan Beckett, easily by searching for the title on Amazon. It truly is a comprehensive roadmap, very practical, for navigating this intelligent future. So while building that AI fluency is absolutely critical for people's strategy and for HR stepping up as a strategic partner, it clearly extends far beyond just HR. It impacts overall leadership effectiveness right at the highest levels. The book introduces this concept of the AI-augmented executive. Tell us more about that.
That's a key idea in the later parts of the book, yes. It's not about AI replacing the executive, far from it. It's about their innate capabilities, their strategic foresight, their ability to synthesize complex information, their decision-making acuity being significantly amplified and enhanced by the intelligent integration of AI into their own workflow and decision processes, making them essentially better versions of themselves.
The book links this directly to specific executive roles, right? Like CFO.
Absolutely. The book dedicates space to the evolution of the CFO role in the age of AI. It argues quite strongly that the AI-augmented CFO moves beyond the traditional role of, backward-looking reporter and cost controller. They become a predictive strategist and a value architect.
So less focused on explaining what happened last quarter and much more on predicting what could happen next and guiding resource allocation based on that foresight.
Precisely. They leverage AI-powered forecasting models and complex scenario modeling capabilities to provide a much clearer, more dynamic view of potential future financial and operational outcomes. This helps them identify emerging opportunities much earlier, anticipate risks before they fully materialize, and understand the potential implications of different strategic choices much more deeply. It's about using data to illuminate what could happen and what should we do now about it, rather than just explaining what just happened.
And instead of just looking for places to cut costs, they're focused more strategically on actively building enterprise value.
Yes. Using sophisticated analytical tools, potentially AI-driven, to understand the true drivers of profitability and value creation across different business units, product lines, or customer segments. They guide strategic capital allocation towards initiatives with the highest potential return, supported by these data-driven insights. The book describes their role as becoming a strategic partner in architecting the company's future value blueprint. It also emphasizes their role as a risk navigator and an insights enabler for the entire organization.
This kind of AI-driven capability must extend to broader executive decision support beyond just finance. The book gives examples of how AI helps leaders make better decisions in really complex areas.
Yes, applying AI to explore complex scenarios is becoming increasingly common and impactful. It enhances strategic agility and resilience.
Like managing a complex global supply chain during major disruptions, that seems like a classic example.
That's a prime example the book uses. Imagine a global company with a vast, complex supply chain facing unforeseen disruptions. Maybe a major port closure, a geopolitical event, a natural disaster affecting a key region. Traditionally, understanding the full impact and evaluating alternative responses would take days, maybe weeks, of intensive manual analysis, by which point the situation might have changed again. The book describes how an AI-powered digital twin of the supply chain can ingest real-time data on inventory levels, logistics routes, supplier status, weather patterns, market demand signals, potential risks. The AI can then rapidly model the impact of the disruption and simulate dozens, maybe hundreds, of what-if scenarios in minutes.
And provide actionable options, not just analysis.
Yes, it can propose and evaluate alternative responses, rerouting shipments, activating secondary suppliers, strategically increasing buffer stock in certain locations, adjusting production schedules. Executives can interact with this digital twin, testing their own hypotheses against the AI's models. This helps them quickly grasp the complex interdependencies and make much more informed, proactive, and resilient decisions under extreme pressure.
That ability to model complex what-if scenarios sounds incredibly valuable for almost any big strategic choice. What about something like deciding whether to enter a new international market?
The book uses that kind of example too. Say a tech company is considering expanding into a new region or launching a significant new product line. AI can analyze vast amounts of data on local customer needs and preferences, the competitive landscape, the regulatory environment, technological readiness in that market, economic forecasts. It can then simulate the potential success of different market entry strategies, different pricing models, or product configurations under various projected future market conditions.
So it can help predict things like potential adoption rates or how competitors might react under different scenarios.
Exactly, across different plausible scenarios. This helps the C-suite identify the most promising opportunities, understand the key assumptions underlying potential success, quantify the risks involved much better, and make more robust, data-informed investment decisions compared to relying primarily on intuition or limited, maybe biased, data sets.
And back to the CFO role for a moment. Using AI for financial planning seems like such a natural fit.
Absolutely. AI is transforming financial planning and analysis, FP&A, from often static annual budgeting processes to much more dynamic continuous forecasting, and enabling complex capital allocation scenario planning. AI models can integrate internal financial data with a wide range of external macroeconomic variables, interest rates, GDP growth forecasts, inflation expectations, currency fluctuations, market sentiment indicators, even environmental or social risk factors now. They can generate probabilistic forecasts, not just single-point estimates, and allow executives to easily explore scenarios, like what's the potential impact on profitability of sustained high interest rates for the next 2 years, or the financial implications of different levels of investment in sustainability initiatives. This AI-augmented foresight allows CFOs to optimize capital allocation more effectively, manage financial risk more proactively, and really stress test strategies against multiple potential futures.
These examples all highlight that the leader isn't just passively accepting whatever the AI spits out. They have to actively engage with the output, question it, interpret it. This brings up the risk of bias again, but maybe a different kind. Not just bias in the AI's data, but a new kind of bias for leaders using the AI.
That's a critical point the book raises. Automation bias. It's a well-documented phenomenon. This is the tendency for humans to over-rely on or place undue confidence in the outputs or recommendations generated by automated systems, including sophisticated AI. Sometimes to the point of overriding their own judgment or failing to critically evaluate the AI's conclusion, even when it seems off. This is a real risk. Even as we're using AI to try and mitigate human biases in other areas, it underscores the need for those critical thinking skills we discussed earlier, applied now to the AI itself.
So how does the book suggest leaders navigate this paradox? How do they use AI to potentially surface their own biases or blind spots without falling into the trap of just blindly trusting the AI too much?
The book emphasizes fostering a culture of critical engagement and ensuring humans remain meaningfully involved in the decision process, either in the loop or on the loop, depending on the decision's sensitivity and risk. Leaders should demand transparency and explainability from AI systems wherever possible and practical. They should seek to understand how the AI arrived at its conclusion, not just what the conclusion is. And cultivate a healthy skepticism. Treat AI insights as powerful, valuable inputs to the decision process, absolutely, but not as infallible directives. They need to be interrogated, validated, sense-checked. Leaders must constantly ask those probing questions we outlined earlier. What are the underlying assumptions here? What are the model's known limitations? Under what conditions might this AI output be wrong or misleading?
So it's really about questioning the AI's answer, just like you'd question a human advisor's recommendation, applying the same level of scrutiny.
Exactly. And the book stresses triangulating insights. Don't rely solely on a single AI source for critical decisions. Cross-reference AI outputs with human expertise, with intuition, which AI fundamentally lacks, with other data sources, maybe even with different AI models if available. And crucially, maintain human oversight, particularly for high-stakes, complex, or irreversible decisions. The final judgment and the ultimate accountability must reside with human leaders.
The book uses terms like human in the loop and human on the loop. What's the practical distinction there?
Good question. Human in the loop generally refers to workflows where human interaction and explicit approval are required at specific points in the process, often for individual decisions or transactions. This is typically necessary for highly sensitive situations, for novel or edge cases the AI wasn't trained on, or where explainability and accountability are absolutely paramount. Human on the loop allows the AI to operate more autonomously within predefined parameters, making decisions or recommendations, but with ongoing human monitoring and the ability for a human to intervene, override, or correct the system if needed. Think of it like a pilot monitoring autopilot. The book notes that the appropriate level of human involvement really depends on the context, the potential risks, the regulatory requirements, and the desired balance between efficiency and control.
And all of this really requires leaders to continuously learn and develop that AI fluency we discussed earlier. It's not a one-time training.
Precisely. That fluency empowers them to be more discerning users of AI tools, to understand their potential and their limitations, and to effectively govern their use. And it links to another key point: the need for continuous validation and feedback loops for the AI systems themselves. Their performance isn't static. It can degrade or drift over time as underlying data patterns change or the external environment shifts. They need ongoing maintenance and refinement.
This brings us neatly to the idea of human AI teaming within these augmented decision workflows. How does the book describe that collaboration working effectively? What does good teaming look like?
The book details this collaborative model quite well. The core principle is defining complementary roles where each partner, the human and the AI, plays to their unique strengths. The AI excels at processing massive volumes of data, identifying complex patterns humans might miss, generating multiple scenarios rapidly, providing predictions based on data, monitoring real-time information streams tirelessly. It handles the heavy computational and data analysis lifting.
And the human role in that team, what do we bring?
Humans provide the crucial contextual understanding that AI currently lacks. Understanding the nuances of organizational culture, competitive dynamics, stakeholder concerns, ethical implications, political factors, brand reputation, all the external factors that often aren't fully captured in the training data. Humans frame the strategic questions the AI should address in the first place. They interpret the AI's outputs within that broader context. They apply critical evaluation, judgment, and common sense. They manage ambiguity and uncertainty. They make the final nuanced decision considering factors beyond the quantitative data. And importantly, humans bear the ultimate accountability for the outcome. It's truly a partnership where the AI makes the human smarter, more informed, and faster, and the human makes the AI relevant, responsible, and grounded in reality.
So the workflow might look something like: AI analyzes data and proposes insights or options. The human evaluates and contextualizes those insights, formulates a strategy or decision based on that augmented understanding, and then perhaps the AI helps monitor the execution or results.
Exactly. That's a good summary of a typical augmented workflow. And embedded within that workflow are those vital validation steps we touched on. Data validation before it even enters the AI system is the data clean, relevant, unbiased. Model validation, understanding the purpose, assumptions, and limitations of the specific AI being used. And most importantly, output validation, sense checking the AI's recommendations against human intuition, expert knowledge, other sources, really stress testing them before acting.
And how do these human AI teams and the systems themselves improve over time? It's not static.
Through continuous feedback loops. There's AI to human feedback, where the AI needs to present its insights and, ideally, its reasoning or confidence levels in a clear, understandable way for the human partner. Visualization can be key here. And crucially, human-to-AI feedback is needed to improve the models and systems. This involves humans correcting errors the AI makes, providing new data or context the AI lacked, rating the usefulness and relevance of the AI's insights, or flagging potential issues like emerging bias or performance drift. This systematic collection and integration of human feedback is essential for making the AI system smarter, more accurate, and better aligned with strategic goals over time. And presumably process feedback on the workflow itself, too, how the team is collaborating humans and AI together. Yes, absolutely. Continuously reviewing if the human-AI workflow is efficient, if the interaction points are effective, if the handover points are smooth, and if the combined human-AI team is actually leading to demonstrably better, faster, or more impactful decisions than either could achieve alone. That continuous improvement applies to the process as much as the tech.
This whole discussion of responsible AI use, bias mitigation, and effective decision-making naturally brings us back full circle to the critical importance of governance and ethics, especially in sensitive areas like people strategy.
It is absolutely paramount. The book emphasizes this strongly. Ethical oversight and robust governance frameworks cannot be afterthoughts, bolted on at the end. They must be embedded directly into the design, development, and ongoing implementation of AI initiatives, particularly those impacting employees, candidates, or other stakeholders. This is an area where, research from firms like Gartner consistently highlights increasing organizational focus and regulatory pressure.
How does this apply specifically to using AI in things like hiring or promotion decisions? We touched on fairness earlier.
The book notes that while AI can be a tool to help mitigate certain types of human biases, the AI systems themselves can inadvertently create or perpetuate other biases, if not very carefully designed, trained on representative data, and rigorously monitored. Therefore, ensuring fairness, transparency, where possible and appropriate, and accountability in AI-driven talent decisions requires establishing clear principles for responsible AI use within the organization. It means integrating ethical impact assessments early in the development lifecycle, not just before deployment, and potentially using cross-functional AI ethics review boards or committees to oversee sensitive applications. The goal is always to leverage AI's analytical power while upholding core human values and principles of fairness and equity.
And staying informed about the external environment, like evolving government regulations, that seems crucial too.
Yes, the book briefly touches on the rapidly evolving regulatory landscape for AI globally. It mentions significant legislative efforts like the EU AI Act as an example. Leaders absolutely need to stay informed about these developments and proactively ensure that their organization's AI practices, particularly in HR and people strategy, remain ethical and compliant as these regulations are finalized and implemented. It's a moving target.
So to wrap up this really comprehensive deep dive, it's abundantly clear from the book, Intelligent Advantage, that AI isn't just automating a few HR tasks. It's fundamentally transforming people strategy at every single level.
That's right. It's revolutionizing the role of HR, elevating it into a truly strategic force. It's empowering individuals through augmentation and highly personalized experiences, and it's demanding a whole new level of AI fluency and ethical consideration from leadership throughout the entire organization.
And that powerful hook we started with really resonates even more now. The war for talent is over. Talent augmented by AI wins.
It really changes the game, doesn't it? From competing solely for inherent human skill to building this effective collaborative partnership between humans and intelligent machines. The future of work, as explored compellingly in the book, seems intrinsically tied to this augmentation and collaboration.
And these insights we've discussed today are really just a glimpse from the comprehensive look at AI's impact found in the book, Intelligent Advantage.
Absolutely. If you want to truly grasp the strategic implications of AI across your entire organization, finance, operations, marketing, innovation, and including the depths we've discussed today on reimagining people's strategy, getting you a copy is really essential. It connects all these dots.
You can find the book, Intelligent Advantage by Ryan Beckett, easily by searching for the title on Amazon. It provides a clear, actionable roadmap for navigating this intelligent future. Highly recommended, based on our discussion.
It really does leave you with a lot to consider, doesn't it? Particularly around that evolving definition of what it means to be talented or valuable in the age of AI.
Absolutely. And that leads to a final thought for you, our listeners. When our human capabilities are increasingly intertwined with intelligent machines, what does that actually mean for the very definition of human value and contribution in the workplace? How do we measure success or even fulfillment in a world where talent means something fundamentally new, this intricate partnership between human ingenuity and artificial intelligence?
That's a truly provocative question, I think.
Yeah.
And one the book encourages you to grapple with as you lead and work in this rapidly evolving age of AI.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leading with AI podcast.